The sky was always red on the planet Droskanine. Clouds never moved, wind never sang. Only silence stayed, heavy and cold dot in the middle of a metal city, hidden behind thick iron walls. A girl sat in a cage. Her name was Vila, her skin was pale. Blue, her eyes silver like broken glass. She didn't remember how long she had been chained there, days, months, maybe years. The chains didn't hurt anymore, the pain was gone. Now only numbness remained. Every day loud alien traders came. They shouted, laughed, sold people like meat. The market smelled of oil and fear. Other cages held slaves, to some crying, some sleeping, some already dead. Vila never cried. Not anymore. Once she had a name that meant something. Once her people had lived free. But after the Great War, her planet fell. Her kind became property, tools, trash. She was taken, sold, beaten, and forgotten. Her hope had died a long time ago. Then something strange happened. A new buyer arrived. He wasn't like the others. He didn't wear armor or flashy clothes. He didn't smell like blood or alcohol. He wore a simple black coat, his boots dusty from travel. His face was hidden behind a visor, but his voice was calm, deep, and human. Yes, as human. The traders hated humans. They mocked him, called him soft, but the human said nothing. He walked past cages like he had seen 1,000 of them. Then he stopped in front of Vila. She didn't look at him. She kept her head down. Maybe if she stayed still, he'd walk away like the others. But he didn't. He knelt slowly, looked through the bars, and said, "This one." The trader laughed. "That thing? Useless. Won't even talk." The human replied, "I'll take her." No refunds, no need. They made the deal. A few credits exchanged. A chain unlocked. Vila didn't move. She thought maybe it was a trick, but then the cage opened. Light touched her skin for the first time in months. The human reached out a hand. "Come, you're free now." Free? She didn't believe the word. Her legs shook as she tried to stand. The chain dragged behind her like a dead snake. The human gently cut it with a plasma knife. Vila followed him, step by step. Heart racing, eyes wide. Other slaves watched. Some with hope, some with hate. They walked through the market. Nobody stopped them. The traders didn't care. One less slave was nothing. The human's ship was small but clean. He helped her inside, gave her a blanket, and locked the door behind them. No cage. No guards. Vila sat in a corner, hugging her knees. She didn't speak. She couldn't. The human didn't ask questions. He simply gave her water and warm food. Then he left her alone. That night Vila didn't sleep. Her body shook. Her eyes stayed open. She stared at the stars outside the window. She had forgotten stars could be beautiful. The next day, the ship flew quietly through space. Vila sat at the back, still silent. Still watching. The human sat at the controls. Calm, focused. Vila finally spoke. "Why?" He turned his head slightly. "Why me?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because I saw something the others didn't." "What did you see?" "A spark," he said. "A reason." She didn't understand. Was he lying? Was he like the others? "You're not a slave anymore, Vila," he said softly. She looked up. "You know my name?" He nodded. "I know more than you think." Later that night, while the human was asleep, Vila walked around the ship. Her feet were weak, but curiosity was stronger. She found a door with lights blinking. She opened it. Inside was a room full of screens and messages. She saw one message still open. It was written in human code, but one line was clear. Subject: must be delivered by end of solar cycle, no delays. Her blood ran cold. Delivered? Was she cargo? A mission? Her hands shook as she backed away. Behind her, a voice spoke. "Calm, steady, you weren't supposed to see that." She turned. The human stood there, arms crossed, not angry, just tired. Who are you? She asked. He paused. My name is Eli Graves, he said, and I saved you. Because you're more than what they told you. She looked at him, fear and fire rising inside her. And now? She asked. What happens now? Eli looked out the window, into the dark. Now, he said, we find out who you really are. The silence was different this time, not cold, not cruel, just quiet. Vila opened her eyes slowly. She was no longer in the cage, no rusted bars, no dirty floor, no shouting traders or screaming slaves. Just a small room with smooth white walls, and a soft bed beneath her. For a moment, she panicked. It felt like a dream. Dreams could be dangerous. Dreams made you forget the pain, but this wasn't a dream. She sat up. Her hands were free, her legs too. The metal cuffs that had scarred. Her ankles were gone. Her body was still weak, still shaking, but the weight of the chains was no longer there. Across the room, there was a table. On it, a plate of food. Real food, warm, not the cold leftovers the traders used to throw at her cage. Not the stale powder the others fought over. This was clean, fresh. She stared at it, unsure. Then she saw something stranger, a folded piece of cloth, clothes meant for her, not the ragged gray robe she had worn for years. Something new, something hers. The door slid open with a soft sound. He stepped in. Eli Graves, the human. He didn't carry a weapon, didn't wear armor, just that same calm look, that same quiet air. Vila pulled back, instinct telling her to defend, to hide, but he didn't come close. I brought you something better than nutrient paste, he said, nodding to the plate. You don't have to eat it, but I thought you'd like it warm. She looked at him. His face was clearer now. Pale skin, short brown hair, a scar on the side of his jaw. His eyes weren't hard like soldiers. They were careful, like he was always thinking. Or watching. She didn't speak. He didn't seem to mind. He simply stepped back and said, take your time. And then he left. Vila stared at the door long after it closed. Then at the food, at the clothes. She waited. For hours. Maybe someone would come and shout. Maybe it was a trap. Maybe the food was drugged. But nothing happened. Finally her hunger won. She ate, slowly at first, like someone would snatch it away, but no one did. When she finished, she changed into the new clothes. They were soft. Too soft. She didn't remember what comfort felt like. The next day, she walked out of the room. The hallway was quiet, clean. Lights buzzed gently above. She followed the sound of humming, a quiet tune, human, unfamiliar. She found Eli sitting at a control station, hands on glowing panels. The ship flew smoothly through space. Outside the window, stars passed like falling snow. Vela stayed in the doorway. You're awake, he said without turning. She nodded. He glanced over his shoulder. How do you feel? Strange, she sighed, her voice dry and unused. That's normal, he said, standing. I didn't expect you to trust me right away. I don't, she said honestly. He smiled faintly. That's smart. There was a long pause between them. Just the hum of the engine and the soft ticking of a nearby screen. Where are we going? She asked. A safe place, he answered. What happens to me there? He didn't answer right away. He turned back to the controls, adjusting a few coordinates. Then he said, that depends on you. She narrowed her eyes. I saw the message, Eli. You're supposed to deliver me. You didn't save me, you bought me. His hands froze. I'm not stupid, she continued. You're taking me somewhere. For something. Why? He stood still for a long moment, then slowly turned to her. I didn't lie, he said. I did buy you. But not for the reason you think. Then tell me. I was a soldier, he said, in the war. On the other side of yours. She stepped back, I didn't come to rescue a slave, he added. I came to find you. Why? Eli walked over to a storage cabinet and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button. A hologram blinked to life above it, an image of a young alien girl wearing a royal crest. Vela's breath caught in her throat. That's you, Eli said quietly. 5 years ago, you were 12. The daughter of the High House, the last living heir. She stared at the image. She remembered that dress, that necklace, the way her mother smiled behind her. She remembered the day the palace burned. The screams, the explosions. Her father's last words, "Run. You were reported dead," Eli continued. But there were rumors, hints, whispers in dark markets. Traders said a girl survived. I followed every clue until I found you. Vela looked at him with wide eyes. Why would you care? You're human. He looked at her, tired and honest. Because I helped destroy your people. And maybe saving one won't fix that. But it's something. She looked away, heart pounding. You're not a slave, Eli said. Not anymore. You're something bigger. She didn't know what to say. Her voice felt too small. Her body too broken. Royal blood or not, she still felt like dirt. I'm not strong, she whispered. I'm not who I used to be. Maybe not yet, Eli said. But I've seen sparks come back to life before. That night, Vela couldn't sleep. She stared out the window of the ship. She wasn't sure who she was anymore. A slave? A royal? A weapon? A symbol? Somewhere deep in the dark, the ship kept flying. But Vela knew soon she would have to choose who she wanted to be, because someone out there knew she was alive, and they were waiting. The stars looked closer than ever. Vela sat near the wide glass window of the ship, knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped around them like a shield. She had been staring at the galaxy outside for what felt like hours, maybe more. Time didn't move the same way in space. It floated, drifted, slipped through her fingers, but her thoughts, those didn't drift. They crashed like waves. She kept seeing that hologram. Eli showed her the little girl with silver eyes and royal symbols on her chest. That was her. At least, that's what he said. But that girl had smiled once. That girl had stood tall and proud beside her family. That girl had no chains. Vela didn't feel like that girl anymore. Behind her, soft mechanical sounds filled the ship's silence buttons. Clicking, engines humming, soft alerts blinking from the cockpit where Eli sat, focused. He hadn't spoken much in the past day. Maybe he was giving her space. Or maybe he didn't know what to say anymore. She had questions. Hundreds, but trust didn't return so easily. Vela stood up slowly and walked toward the front of the ship. Eli glanced back at her as she entered, then returned to his controls. He was reading maps, analyzing flight paths, checking fuel levels. They had been flying non-stop since leaving the last system. She could feel it, the tension, the urgency. Where are we going now? She asked softly. Out of reach, Eli said. There's a small moon off the outer rings, hidden, quiet, no scanners. No patrols. We'll rest there. Plan the next move. Who's following us? Eli didn't answer immediately. When he finally looked at her, his eyes were heavier than before. The people who want you aren't just traders or slavers. You're not just anyone, Vela. You're a bloodline. A symbol. A threat. Vela frowned. A threat to who? To people who built their power on the ruins of your world, Eli said. You're not just a reminder of what was lost. You're proof that they didn't destroy everything. She looked away. I don't feel powerful. You don't have to, he said. Power doesn't ask permission. It just wakes up. She didn't know what that meant. Not yet. But something about the way he said it made her feel like something deep inside her was shifting. Slowly, quietly. After a long pause, she asked the question that had been stuck in her throat since she saw the message on his screen. Were you really a soldier in the war against my people? Eli froze. His hands left the controls. Yes, he said, without turning around. I was. She waited. Nothing else came, no explanation. No apology. So she pressed. Did you fight on my planet? Yes. Did you kill people like me? His voice was quiet. Yes, she clenched her fists. Then why save me now? Eli stood and finally turned to face her. His expression wasn't hard, it was tired. Heavy with something she didn't fully understand. Because I was blind back then, he said. We were told your people were dangerous, violent, that the war was the only way to survive. I believed them. And now, I don't, he said. Not after what I saw, not after what I did. I left the army, I went off-grid. And I started looking for the truth. She stared at him. And I'm the truth? You're part of it, he said. The rest is still out there. Vela turned away, walking slowly back toward the center of the ship. Her head spun. So many pieces didn't fit. Too much had been hidden, buried. When she entered the lounge, she noticed something odd, a blinking light under one of the seats. Curious, she bent down and pulled out a small metallic box. It looked old, human-made, but strange symbols were etched on the side. Her language. The language of her people. She froze. Eli? She called. He rushed in, saw the box, and stopped. His face changed. You weren't supposed to find that yet, he said. What is it? He sighed. A memory capsule. It belonged to your mother. I recovered it during a mission, before the palace fell. Vela's hands trembled as she held it. Why didn't you show me? She asked. Because opening it requires something only you can provide. What? Your DNA, he said. Your blood. The box was shaped like a flower, 6 sides, 1 center. A small slot in the middle glowed faintly. She took a deep breath, then pressed her finger into it. The box clicked, hummed, then opened. A soft light spilled out, and a voice. Vela, my star, if you are hearing this, then I am gone. It was her mother's voice. Vela gasped. You were born to lead, not to suffer. They may chain your body, but never your soul, if you survive. Remember who you are. Tears rolled down Vela's cheeks as the message played. Her mother spoke of honor, of home, of the great forest of their world now turned to ash. She spoke of symbols, secrets, survival. When the message ended, silence returned. Eli said nothing. He just let her feel it. For the first time in years, Vela remembered something that wasn't pain. She remembered her mother's hands, her laughter, the warmth in her arms. Vela wiped her face. Why me? She whispered. Why not save someone stronger, someone whole? Eli answered simply, because you're still standing. She looked up at him. A strange warmth began to grow inside her chest, small but real. I need to know everything, she said. You will, he replied. But you need to rest first. Tomorrow we land. And then we find allies. As Vela stood in the middle of the ship, holding the memory of a mother she had lost, she realized something she hadn't felt in a long time. A beginning, not a cage. Not chains, but something new, and somewhere far behind them, in the shadows of space, someone had picked up their trail, a signal, a whisper, a price. The hunt had begun, and this time, it wasn't just for a slave. It was for a lost queen. The moon looked dead from a distance. A cracked, frozen rock floating in the shadow of a gas giant. No cities, no signals, no signs of life. Just mountains of ash and silence stretching for miles. Perfect for hiding. Perfect for disappearing. Eli's ship cut through the black like a whisper, engines low and silent. The auto shield faded as they passed into orbit, revealing the ghostly surface of the moon beneath. Vela stood behind him in the cockpit, staring through the window. Her face was calm, but her fingers twitched. She had barely spoken since the memory box. Her mother's voice still echoed inside her, mixing with the things Eli had told her, truths she hadn't asked for, but couldn't ignore anymore. "We'll land in 15 minutes, Eli said. "There's an old refueling station underground. Abandoned, but functional. Nobody scans this place." Vela nodded, eyes fixed forward. "And then?" Eli looked at her. "And then we prepare." "For what?" He paused. "For the ones coming. After you." The ship descended into the thick shadows of a canyon. The moon had no sun of its own. Only the soft blue light of the gas giant above gave it shape. As they reached the landing site, jagged metal towers rose from the ground like the bones of a dead civilization. Vela followed Eli into the station. It was cold and quiet. Dust covered everything. But there was power. Lights flickered to life. Screens blinked. Old systems reactivated after years of sleep. Eli ran diagnostics while Vela walked alone down one of the side corridors. She found a room with old mirrors, probably used for medical checks once. She stood in front of one and stared at her reflection. She barely recognized herself. The bruises were fading. The cuts healing. Her eyes looked sharper now, not so hollow. She touched her face and whispered to herself, "I am not a slave." She didn't feel like royalty yet, but she didn't feel like nothing either. Just then, Eli's voice echoed through the hallway. "Vela, come quick." She ran back to the main console. He pointed to one of the screens. A red dot was moving toward the moon. Fast. "What is it?" she asked. "Bounty drone. Modified. Tracking signature locked onto us. It'll be here in 5 minutes. Her stomach dropped. "How did they find us?" "I don't know. Maybe they hacked a signal. Maybe someone's watching the old war logs. Doesn't matter." He moved quickly, pressing buttons, arming defenses. "We're not safe here anymore." Vela looked at the drone's trajectory. It was small, but deadly. She could feel it. This wasn't just a scanner. It was a hunter. "What do we do?" she asked. Eli looked at her. "We run. But this time, I need you to help fly." Her eyes widened. "I don't know how. I'll teach you." "Now?" He smiled, just barely. No better time. They rushed back to the ship. As systems powered up, alarms began to scream. The drone had entered the atmosphere. "Sit here," Eli said, pointing to the co-pilot's seat. "Hands on the controls. Light grip. Feel the ship." "Don't fight it." Vela sat, heart pounding. Her hands were shaking. But she nodded. "Focus on my voice," Eli said. "I'll handle thrust. You handle balance. Think of it like guiding wind." "I've never flown anything in my life." "You've never had to," he said. "But you've survived worse than this." Outside, the drone's shape came into view, sleek black, glowing with red plasma. Engines. It flew fast, cutting through the canyon, closing in like a hawk ready to strike. "Ready?" Eli asked. "No," Vela said honestly. "Good," he replied. "Means you're paying attention." The engines roared. They launched into the sky. The ship pulled hard, rising like a rocket through the narrow stone walls. Vela gripped the side thrusters, following Eli's shouted directions. "Left, right, pitch down. Keep the nose clean." The drone fired a warning shot. A beam of light missed them by inches. Vela screamed, but kept steady. Eli adjusted their angle, using the cliffs to block the drone's line of fire. "You're doing great," he said. "I want to vomit." "Good. That's normal." They burst out of the canyon into open space. But the drone followed, relentless. "They won't stop." "Will they?" she shouted. "No. Not until you're dead or captured." Vela narrowed her eyes. "Then I won't give them the chance." She reached for a control stick, pulling hard to spin the ship. Eli looked at her in surprise. "Vela, what are you doing?" "We're not running anymore." The drone fired again. This time, it hit their wing. Sparks flew. Alon screamed. "Eli." Curse it and grab for stabilizers. Too late, he said. We're losing control. The ship dipped hard. Vila saw the stars spinning. A gas giant rising behind them like a giant eye dot in that moment. Something clicked. She let go of fear, let go of the girl in the cage, and grabbed the controls with steady hands. I've got it, she said. She leveled the ship, rerouted power, and found a gap between two asteroid belts ahead. There, she pointed. We can lose it in the rocks. Eli looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Copy that. They flew straight into the asteroid field. The drone followed, but slower now. Careful, the rocks were tight, spinning. Deadly. But Vili was faster. Her hands moved like instinct. She flew between the stones, ducked under shadows, skimmed over ancient debris. The drone clipped an asteroid. Then another. Then it exploded. A quiet bloom of fire behind them. Vila gasped. Panting. Silence. Return. Eli leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. That was... He paused. Incredible. Vela turned to him. I didn't think I could do it. He smiled. You didn't think. You did. She looked out at the stars again, but something was different this time. They weren't just pretty. They weren't just far away. They were hers to chase now. Later, in the quiet of space, Eli made repairs. Vela sat nearby, drinking water, trying to stop her hands from shaking. She was exhausted but alive. You flew like someone born to it, he said. I just didn't want to die. That's where all pilots start. She chuckled softly. Then she looked at him, serious again. Who sent the drone? Eli hesitated, then said, I think it's time I told you the full truth. Not just about you, but about what they want. He paused. There's a rebel cell. Not human, your kind. And they want to use you as a symbol. A face to restart the war. Vila blinked. My people? Yes, but not all of them. Just the ones who think peace is weakness. They think a royal survivor like you could rally the broken planets again. Vila's throat tightened. And you think I will? I think you'll choose your own path, Eli said. Not theirs. Not mine, yours. She nodded slowly. And for the first time since the chains fell, a real smile. Not because she was safe, but because she was finally becoming asterisk. The ship was silent again, but not peacefully so. This time, the silence felt heavier, like something unseen had entered with them. Hiding just outside the light, Vila sat in the co-pilot seat, her hands still aching from the flight. The stars ahead were calm, blinking as if nothing had just tried to kill them. But something inside her had shifted. Something sharp. Something old. She wasn't sure if it was pride or fear. Eli was running system checks, fixing the burn damage. From the drone's final shot, sparks still jumped now and then from the right side panel, but the ship was stable enough to fly. Just barely. You need rest, Eli said without looking at her. Vila didn't move. I don't want to sleep. Not yet. You've earned it. She looked at her fingers. Burn marks, sweat, control. I need answers more than sleep, Eli sighed. And you'll get them. Soon. But it was never soon enough. Not for her. She stood up, walked toward the back of the ship, and entered the cargo hold. The memory box her mother had left her sat on a table still open, still glowing faintly. That voice, her mother's voice, still echoed in her bones. We're born to lead, not to suffer. Vila clenched her jaw. She didn't feel like a leader. Not yet. Not with fear still crawling in the back of her throat like a whisper. And then she heard something. A noise. Very faint. Not from the ship. From outside. She turned, slowly, her heart suddenly tight. There it was again. A voice, faint, calling her name, Vila. She moved to the side hatch, opened the scanner port. The ship was parked near an asteroid drift, where pieces of old wreckage floated like forgotten bones in space. Vela. This time she heard it clearly. A voice she hadn't heard in years. A voice she thought had died in the fire. She ran to the cockpit. "Eli," she said. "There's someone out there." "What?" I heard my name. He looked at the readings. No life signs nearby, no ships. "I'm telling you, I heard it." Eli narrowed his eyes, typed in a deeper scan. His face changed. "There's a pod," he said, "camouflaged, hidden inside a dead cruiser. Still powered." He looked at her. "You shouldn't go." "I have to." "Why?" "Because I know that voice." Minutes later, suited in thin armor and magnet boots, Vela floated through the black, her body tethered to Eli's ship by a safety line. The wreckage around her creaked softly, drifting without purpose. She moved carefully toward the pod, breathing slowly, counting her heartbeats as she approached. The markings on the pod came into view. Not human, hers ancient symbols scratched into the metal. She reached out, hand trembling, and opened the hatch. Inside was someone, curled up, alive. Eyes slowly opened, silver, like hers, familiar. "Vela," the voice croaked. Her heart stopped. "Kale," she whispered. He blinked, weak but breathing. His face was thinner, his hair longer, but the memory hit her like a blast wave. Her cousin. He had been the last face she saw when the palace fell. He had tried to hold the door for her as fire rained down. Then he vanished. Everyone said he had died, but he hadn't. He had survived, and now he was here. Back on the ship, Kale was silent for a long time. He drank water, leaned back, and stared at the ceiling. His body was bruised, starved, but his eyes were sharp. Vela sat across from him, unsure of what to say. Eli stood nearby, watching like a shadow. Kale finally spoke. "They told me you were dead. They told me the same about you." He looked at her. "I waited for years, hiding, watching, gathering what was left of our people. You found others?" He nodded. "Scattered, broken, but angry. The fire never went out, Vela. It only burned deeper." Her chest tightened. "Where have you been?" Kale looked at Eli, hiding from them. Eli didn't respond. Vela tried to calm the storm inside her. "He saved me." Kale laughed coldly. "Did he?" She stiffened. "Yes, he did." Kale leaned forward, eyes sharp now. "He's human." "You think saving one of us makes up for what they did? They burned our cities. They turned our mothers into slaves, our brothers into corpses." Vela looked down. Kale's voice softened. "You were always kind, always soft. That's why I protected you. But now you must open your eyes." "I have," she said quietly. "I've seen pain, chains, blood. I haven't forgotten." "Then remember who the enemy is." Eli finally stepped forward. "This isn't helping." Kale stood. "She doesn't need your voice." Eli didn't flinch. "She needs truth. All of it." Kale turned to Vela. "I've been working with others. Old warriors, fighters. There's a plan one that needs you." "Me?" "You're the last blood of the high house," Kale said. "The people will follow you. If you rise, they rise." Vela stared at him. "Rise to what?" "To fight. To take back what was stolen." She shook her head. "You want another war. We didn't start the last one. But we'll finish this one," Kale said. Eli stepped in again. "And how many will die for your finish?" Kale's eyes flashed. "Better to die free than live like dogs. Or live long enough to rebuild." The silence between them cracked like ice under weight. Kale looked at Vela. "I'm leaving in 2 hours. I have a ship hidden near this system. Come with me, or stay here with him." He walked away. The air felt colder. Vela stood alone in the cockpit, eyes lost in space. She felt like she was being torn in two. Kale was family. Blood, the only person from her old life still alive. But Eli had given her something she didn't know how to name. A choice. She heard footsteps behind her. "Eli, you should go," he said. She turned. "You're just letting me?" "You're not my prisoner, Vela. You never were." She looked down. He's my cousin, I know. He's right about some things. He is, but you are too. Eli smiled sadly. That's the hard part. Vila closed her eyes. Inside, her mother's voice echoed again. Remember, who you are, not who others want her to be, not who they think she is, but who she chooses to become. She opened her eyes and turned around. 2 hours later, Kale stood near the airlock, ready to leave. Vila walked in. Calm, he smiled. So, you're coming. She shook her head. I'm not. His smile faded. I'm not staying with him either, she added. I'm staying with me. Kale frowned. You'll regret this. No, she said. Because I'm going to end this war, my way. He said nothing, just walked out. No goodbye. And Vila stood in the quiet airlock. A queen without a throne, but no longer without a voice. Asterisk, the stars no longer comforted her. They blinked the same, sure. They danced across the ship's windows just like before. But now they felt cold, distant, like they were watching from far away, waiting to see what she would become. Vila sat alone in the ship's storage room, the old memory capsule from her mother still on the table in front of her. She had replayed the message 3 times already that morning, just to hear that voice again, to feel warmth, even if it was long gone. If you survive, remember who you are. She had survived. But remembering who she was, that part still hurt. 2 paths stretched out in her mind. One led toward Kale and his rising rebellion, blood, fire, and revenge. The other led nowhere certain. Eli offered no throne, no army, just choice and truth. The kind that didn't fit into neat shapes. The kind that left scars when you looked at it too long. The door behind her slid open. She didn't need to turn to know it was Eli. He stepped in slowly, not interrupting the silence, just becoming part of it. He stood across from her, hands loose by his sides. Vila finally spoke. Why didn't you tell me everything? Eli exhaled slowly. I wanted to. I was trying to protect you. From the truth? Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp, from the weight of it. She leaned forward, folding her arms. Kale said there are records, files, evidence that you weren't just any soldier, that you were on the command team during the invasion. Eli didn't deny it. I was, he said. You gave orders? I followed them first, he said. Then I stopped, too late. But I stopped. Vila stood slowly. You helped burn my city. Yes. You bombed the Sky Garden. That was my favorite place. My brother. Her voice cracked, but she caught it. Eli looked down. The garden was marked as a rebel hideout. I didn't know who was inside. I thought I was doing the right thing. She stared at him. Did you ever care who was inside? Silence. Answered. Then, finally, his voice lower this time. Not until it was over. She turned away from him, chest tight, fists clenched. I trusted you, she whispered. I never asked for that. But I gave it to you anyway. A long silence sat between them, thick and suffocating. Eli stepped closer. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Vila. I know I don't deserve it. But I didn't save you just to clear my name. Then why did you? She asked. Because I saw what they turned you into. I saw the chains, the bruises, the hollow look in your eyes, and I remembered that same look on others years ago because of me. Vela turned around, finally facing him. You're right about one thing, she said. You don't deserve forgiveness. Eli nodded. Once, understood. But I'm not the same girl who sat in a cage and waited to die, she said. I'm not broken. And I won't spend the rest of my life in someone else's shadow. Not Kale's, not yours. Eli's expression didn't change, but something softened. Then what do you want to do? He asked. She paused. And then said, I want to speak. The message took 3 hours to record. Eli helped with the technical setup, but the words were all Vila's. Her voice was calm, steady, deliberate. She didn't speak like a queen. She spoke. Like someone who had lived pain. Someone who had been silenced and found her voice again. The message was broadcast across hidden frequencies, channels only used by outlaws, exiles, former rebels, and desperate colonies. It didn't matter who was listening. What mattered was that someone was. Her words echoed across the galaxy. My name is Vila. I was once a prisoner. A slave. A forgotten child of a forgotten planet. But I am no longer silent. I know the rebels want me to be a symbol of war. And I know others want me dead because I'm a symbol of hope. But I don't belong to either side. I belong to the future. If you're tired of being used, tired of being told who to hate, then listen. I won't promise a throne, or revenge, or glory. I promise change. But only if we choose it together. No more chains, no more kings, no more war. She ended the message with a symbol, the crest of her family, but burned halfway through, not whole, just like her. But still here. A few hours later, responses started coming in. Some praised her. Others called her a traitor. Some begged her to lead the rebellion. Some cursed her for not finishing the war. But they were listening. For the first time, they were listening. Vila stood in the control room, watching the flood of responses come through. This is dangerous, Eli said, scanning the screen. I know, Vela replied. You've painted a target on your back. I already had one. He looked at her. Do you regret sending it? She shook her head. No, even if Kale comes for you. She turned to him, eyes firm. Let him come. That night, Vila walked to the observation deck alone. She looked out at the stars again. This time, they didn't feel so distant. Not cold. Just waiting. She heard Eli approach behind her but didn't turn. You were right, she said. About what? Power doesn't ask permission. It just wakes up. He nodded double quotes and sometimes, she added, it wakes up in the people no one expected. He gave a quiet laugh. Especially them. She looked at him now, really looked. You've changed too. Maybe, he said. Maybe you changed me. Vila didn't smile. But she didn't look away either. I still don't forgive you, she said. I know. But I don't hate you anymore. I know that too. They stood in silence. Two survivors. Not heroes. Not monsters. Just people. Trying. Far across the system, in a dark hall beneath a hidden rebel base, Kale stood alone in front of a screen. Vila's message played in front of him, her voice echoing off the walls. He didn't move, didn't speak, but his eyes burned with something. Dangerous. Not anger. Not yet, but betrayal. She chose peace, a rebel general said behind him. You surprised? Kale's jaw tightened. No. She's not coming to lead us. She will, the general frowned. You just heard her. Kale turned sharply. She will, because peace won't save us. And when the next war starts, they'll beg her to rise. He turned back to the screen, to save them. Asterisk, the silence before a storm is the kind that holds its breath. Out there, across the stars, ships were moving slow at first, but then faster. Messages were spreading. Allies were whispering. Enemies were watching. The galaxy had heard her voice. And now they waited to see what she would do with it. But Vela wasn't waiting anymore. She stood on the deck of the station they had landed on, far beyond the usual patrol zones. It was a forgotten trading post, floating like an island on the edge of nothing, once full of life. Now silent and dust-covered, but it had power. And more importantly, it had reached out. Eli stood beside her, arms crossed. He had a fresh scar near his temple from the last close call. Neither of them spoke yet. They just looked at the sky. The kind of sky that said something was coming. She closed her eyes. And when she opened them again, she felt it. Today was the end of something. And maybe the start of something else. A few hours later, messages poured in. People from different corners of the galaxy, all species, all statuses. some offering help, some offering warnings, and then came the one she expected. Kale. The message came encrypted. Direct and cold. You've chosen the wrong side, cousin. But I still remember the girl who used to follow the stars with me. If that girl is still in you, meet me, alone, no guards, no soldiers. Come to the ruins of Elrond Point. I will wait until the last star dips below the ice. After that, we burn everything. Eli leaned over the message console, jaw tight. It's a trap. I know, Vila said. Then you're not going. I am. Why? Because I owe him an answer. And the galaxy needs to see what kind of leader I really am. Eli ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. He's going to try to break you. He's already tried, she said softly. I'm still standing. The ruins of Elrond Point. Set on a cold, dying world. It had once been a city of light-floating gardens, glass towers, harmony between nature and machine. Now it was a skeleton, snow-covered broken pathways. Wind howled through shattered stone. No lights, no warmth. Just memory and echoes. Vila landed alone. No armor. No weapon in hand, only her voice. Kale waited near the old monument in the city's center, a tall, black obelisk with her family's crest burned into it by the war. He wore battle gear now, his face harder, but his eyes still held that same fire. You came, he said. You asked, she replied. You shouldn't have. I came to end this. Kale tilted his head. You think words will stop what's coming? No, she said, but they might start something better. He scoffed. Peace? With the same people who caged us? No, not peace with them. Peace for us. Kale walked in a slow circle around her. You've spent too much time with that human. I've spent enough time in chains to know I don't want anyone else wearing them. Not for me. Not for you. Kale stopped. You don't understand what it takes to build something new. We need fire. We need fear. We need choice, she said, raising her voice now. You want to burn down the galaxy to prove we survived. But I want to lead it somewhere we don't have to keep surviving. He looked at her for a long time. Then he held up a small device, a beacon. This calls my fleet, he said. One word, and they'll strike 3 human colonies. End their command lines. Begin the war again. Vila stepped closer. You press that, and you'll kill thousands of children. Just like ours were killed. He hesitated. She kept going. But you won't break the chain. You'll become it. His hand shook. You don't get to be the hero if your throne is made of ashes, Kale. He stared at her, jaw clenched, breathing heavy. Then he pressed the beacon. Vela's heart froze, but instead of blinking red, the beacon blinked green. Eli's voice came through a hidden speaker. Nice speech. Hope you don't mind. I intercepted his signal 5 minutes ago. The only thing this beacon does now is turn on the lights. Above them, a small drone uncloaked and shined a spotlight down on Kale. Vila didn't smile. She looked at her cousin. You wanted to test me, she said. Now I'm testing you. Kale's shoulders dropped. For the first time in a long time, he looked tired. I thought you were soft, he whispered. I thought I was too, she replied. He dropped the beacon. It shattered on the stone. Vila walked forward, wrapped her arms around him. He didn't hug her back, but he didn't stop her either. A week later, the new message was sent. Across rebel systems, across human networks, across forgotten planets. Vela's face. Her voice. Her truth. This time, she didn't ask to be followed. She invited others to rise with her. No crown. No army, just a voice. A voice that once screamed in chains, and now speaks without fear. People listened, some argued, some doubted. But something changed. The galaxy took a breath. The galaxy took a breath, and didn't choke. Eli stood at the edge of the command deck, watching her. Vila, now dressed not in robes, not in royal colors, but in something simple, a jacket. Plain boots. A data pad in her hand. Leading meetings. Answering. Messages. Not ruling. Just guiding. He walked up beside her. You're becoming something, he said. I don't even know what to call it yet. He smiled. That's the best kind of leader. She looked at him. For a moment, all the pain and anger and doubt was still there. But behind it, light. I'm not here because of you, Eli, she said. You didn't fix me. I know. You didn't give me freedom, he nodded. I gave it to myself. She turned to face him fully. But you gave me something else. What's that? She smiled, small but true. The chance to remember who I was. And choose who I want to be. The stars outside didn't look so distant anymore. They looked like places. Like destinations, like futures. And this time, Vela wasn't watching them in silence. She was heading toward them, not as a slave, not as a princess, but as something new, something no one had a name for yet. But soon they would. They all would.